We'll move on to the third talk in our session, in our breakout session this morning, and it's going to be from Elaine Bean in Maynooth University. And Elaine's talk is "Necessity is the Mother of Invention, Moving to Online Events." So Elaine, over to you.
Thanks, Ron. So another joy of COVID is, can I actually see this and see the screen at the same time? Because I haven't presented in so long, so it will be a live show if I have to stop and do a few bits. So just to give you some background, in Maynooth University between 2014 and 2019, we had an increase of over 1,000% in the amount of events that we ran. And so when COVID hit in March and the libraries went home, I was wondering what was going to happen. You know, I thought, well, we all thought it was going to be for a short amount of time. And so I decided to do an events management course because I thought I'd be back in the building doing physical events very quickly. And then I realised I should have done something totally different as I progressed through the slides. You'll see what I mean. But I had to really look at what I could do to keep events going in a different way. So what I'm going to show you is just what I used, the type of events that we ran, the technology that I used, the benefits that we felt from online events, and going forward, what we're going to do. So these are the type of events that we ran. The first one that we had was an art exhibition, and how this came about was that every year the university runs an art exhibition in the physical building, and it's the staff and student art exhibition. So we had the paintings in the library, and then we got closed down. We couldn't get the paintings back to the artists, so we were wondering what could we do. So we contacted the artists and we said, do you mind if we photograph them and we can put them on a virtual exhibition and we can put it out on the website. So once we had permission from everybody, we put that up. I'll go through the technology that we used as we get into it. Then the next thing that we had was the Covert Seminar, and I know a number of you attended that. That was probably my biggest heart attack moment because I hadn't used Zoom before, and it was 9:15, I'll never forget it, on the Wednesday morning. It was starting at 6:30 in the morning. I was still on YouTube trying to work out how to use breakout rooms because it was in the program that we were going to have breakout rooms. So it might look like it all ran smoothly, but there were huge kind of, moments of palpitations and that. The wellness days that we ran for staff, we ran a number of these, and I have a slide further on and I'll show you what exactly it was that we did in the wellness day. But we were, we've heard it from our colleagues, we were split up, we were in pods, we weren't meeting each other. Some of us hadn't seen each other at all, hadn't been back in the physical building. So we had to come up with something to try and build this. And Bernie, our colleague, had been running lots of in-person wellness days, and then suddenly we had to try and move on to an online one. So I'll show you later what we did for that. The Heritage Week ones that we did, this was where we actually branched out a bit, because up until this point we were running them, we were doing the talk and we were getting the people in. But on this one we ran it, but we handed it over to other people to be the presenters. So we had people in from the campus to talk about the grounds of the campus, about the college chapel, and we had 3 different people come in. And again, this, we are supposed to engage with the community around us. And over COVID, the president of St. Patrick's College kept the grounds of Maynooth open for people to walk for mental health and that. And it was really interesting because I'm from Maynooth and I was watching the social media pages and loads of people were saying, I never even knew the college was there. If you've been in Maynooth and you go down to the bottom of the town, there's 2 big white gates, you might never have actually walked in around the grounds. So it was the first time that the community was actually getting in to see. So what I did on this occasion was I actually shared out our events onto, it's called Maynooth notice boards, onto their Facebook page. And so we had lots of people attend who were from the community who'd never actually been in, and suddenly they were getting tours of all different parts of the campus. So, we were looking at the strategic plan and we were engaging with the community, but it was bigger than that, because they just felt a part of something that they felt wasn't really open to them. And the culture night is the same. It was open to everybody. And we mentioned Zoom and quizzes and bingos and all sorts of things. Well, the library had them. We had lots of them, and they were very competitive. They were open. I was getting messages about bribes and all to see if I would tell people the questions. We had prizes. People were donating prizes. I'd come into my desk and there'd be some prizes for the quiz. Might be chocolates or other things that people gave. So we were trying to keep the spirits up with doing that. We had a poetry competition and reading, and in one of the slides, we like our statistics, so I do have a slide on stats for this. So I'll talk about that in a bit. The poetry competition was really interesting because of the reach of the people who came to that, so that was really good. And it was interesting to hear about what people are doing for library orientation, because we did run some library orientation sessions on Zoom. And interestingly, the first years didn't come to it, but the Erasmus students came to it because obviously they had had a taste of what it was like, so they knew what they needed. So we do have to think differently what we're going to do for the first years who mightn't have been in the physical building and wouldn't see the benefit of actually turning up to a library session online. Now, we did have other events that we can help them with, you know. And then Love Data Week. So we had a whole week of talks, and again, these were people outside the library who were doing the talks that we were looking at there. So what we use, so Zoom, we bought a meeting subscription. So we talked about whether or not we wanted to have a webinar, but we felt that we really missed seeing everybody, and we wanted to see people's faces. And, you know, we encouraged people when they come on. You know yourself, there's nothing worse than the staff meeting online and all you're getting are blank boxes and you're trying to talk to people, particularly if you're the presenter. It's really hard to talk if there's nobody looking back. And it was one of the hardest things I found, because I was fortunate enough to give some training sessions on running events to colleagues, and you know, I asked them, please, if you can, keep the screen on, because it's just really hard to talk to nobody, you know. So we use Zoom, and then Eventbrite. And Eventbrite is really useful because if we go back to the Heritage Week events that we ran, we couldn't give tours of the college grounds, of the chapel. But the person who organises them said to me, look, if we ever get back to being able to do them again, I'd love to give them to the people who were there. So I met him last week, and we're going to run them in about 2 weeks' time, and we're going to be able to go back into Eventbrite, see who registered for the event. They gave permission for us to do this, so I'm not breaking any GDPR or anything like that. So we're going to be able to bring them back in and give them the actual physical tour of the online event that we did with them. Sway. We started using Sway. So the art exhibition was done on Sway. I don't know if you've used it, but it's Microsoft. It's the first time you use it, you might think you're never going to try it again, because it can be it looks a bit awkward to do, but once you get your template going, it's actually quite good and easy to use. But we use Sway, and one of the good things about Sway is that you can have two people working on it, you know, you can share it, but you get your statistics, so you can see if people are actually using it or looking at the information. So when I saw how many people had looked at the art exhibition, I spoke with Conul, because we were organising the Covert Seminar, and I said, what do you think about us trying to do a poster presentation in Sway for the actual seminar? Because we weren't going to have the opportunity for people to present posters, because how would you look at them? So what people did was they already had their work. All they needed to do was to send me an image of their poster. I loaded it into Sway. They gave us some information about it, and then we circulated the link to the Sway before, about a week, I think it was, before the actual seminar. And then people had a chance to read all the posters, because you know yourself at a conference, you're trying to get to all the posters and see everybody. But at this, you were able to read them at your own pace. And then we had a slot in the programme where we could talk about the contents of the posters. So I think it actually worked really well. But the other thing with Sway is that we've had a lot of collaboration on campus now, because we've expanded the Sways that we're doing. We did one fairly recently for academic publication. So we have a stand in the library where new books by academics are put into just to display their works. But what we did was the library staff liaised with faculty, and they said if you've published anything within a given period, if you contact Elaine and send her an image and send her some text about it, and we'll make Sway. And the other thing that did was it let us check our catalogue in case we'd missed anything that had been published, and we were able to order anything that was missing from that. So that was huge engagement with the academics, and they were able to see each other's works. And it was really funny, because as I started sending out the links to people, more and more people were coming, oh, can you add my book to it? Or, you know, so it was great from that. The other thing that we've worked on is the university has, March is their wellness month, and they have lots of training for staff. So with Helen Fallon, we put together another Sway of resources that we have in the library. So it was like electronic resources, print resources, videos. I looked to see could I find some relaxation music, And we put it all up on Sway, but we didn't just put it as a list. We linked it back to the catalogue. So we were all the time trying to show, I think it was mentioned earlier, people don't realise that they have access to it because of the library, or it's come out from the library. So we really pushed it back, and people were able to see that it was coming out of the library catalogue. Surveymonkey. I use this a lot. Staff are probably tired of me sending them out links to it, but it's just really easy when I want to do something. So on Monday, we're having a tour of the campus, and I send out a link, and people tick what they want to do, and I just have it all together. I don't have to be trying to go through 200 emails to see who said they wanted to do what. So when I get on to show you the image of the wellness day that we did, you can see why it was really important for that. But it'd be easy if you were trying to do training sessions as well, because you can give people options and you can tailor it to that. Poster My Wall is just free software for making posters. I mean, a lot of people are using Canva, but I just get into this really fast, and you can save your images out. And then video editor. I hadn't a clue what I was doing, because I hadn't been editing videos. So when we had the Covert Seminar, and then I was to try and edit videos and put them up on YouTube and get them out to people, I just had a look to see what I could find, and I found this on the laptop, and I just did it from there. So I'll be talking about skills and questioning the skills in another slide. So this is our wellness day. And it started off, it was the beginning of COVID, so it started off with arts and crafts. And it was where I told people, I saw this on YouTube, and told people to get an old sock and a scissors, and we made a face mask. So we had a laugh, and it was an icebreaker. So then I thought, well, sure, the breakout rooms worked for the COVID one, sure, why not give it a bash for this one? And it really worked out well. So what happened was, going back to Surveymonkey, people had to say, what would you like to do? And then when I worked out what they'd like to do, I had to try and count, if 10 people want to do an art class and 2 people want to do, don't put them on at the same time so as people could choose. So we're just going to go through it fairly quickly there. We welcome people, and then the gardening corner. So if you're going to do online events, you need to be organised for it, because if you're in this room and something happens, you can say to everybody, just give us 2 minutes, we're just fixing the microphone or whatever. But when you're at home doing online events, what I found was seconds were like minutes, and you just could feel your heart, and it just felt, oh God, this is never going to work. But I did a trial run with the gardening section a couple of days beforehand, because my friend has this fabulous garden, and when I went out, he had no internet access. It was so bad. So I had to record it. And then I had to upload it onto YouTube and then make it private. Then we had the events. So we introduced Miriam and Henry. And then I said, okay, guys, I'm sending you the link. Put the link to the YouTube video in the chat box. And then everybody watched it. And then when they were finished, they gave me a thumbs up. And then we went back live. And we went back talking to Henry to answer the questions. And we went live. Miriam had her phone, and she went around her garden. And I'm showing you this because you can be really creative with what you do with events. I'm not trying to say, oh, we did wonderful things. But if you think outside the box and plan in advance, you can easily get around the things that could be the problems. Oh, we've no internet. Right, there's the gardening section gone. But there are other ways to do it. It got a bit more adventurous then when Conul, Helen and myself decided to bake. So if you picture this, I'm up in a room that is an office with flour and buttermilk and a keyboard, because I've got 2 sessions running at the same time. And I'm making brown bread, Conul's making pavlova, and Helen is making granola. And so with Poster My Wall, we gave everybody what they needed in advance, because like this conference, timing is essential. So everybody knew what they were doing. And then it goes on, we had a quiz. And then down the end there, what we did was, my friend has a bar in her garden, and we didn't tell the library staff. So we went live to the bar, and we had a barman from one of the pubs down the town, and he made cocktails. And again, we told people what they needed if they wanted to take part. So it was as good as we could do, trying to have a laugh, but we weren't together, but it was the best we could do. And I had 2 members of the library staff in my friend's garden, just to try and have a bit of atmosphere. So the library staff didn't know this was going to happen. So that was how we did it. So we're like roving reporters going around the place. So you can be creative with your online events. So we asked for feedback from people who attended. And what was really interesting was For the poetry workshop, we had people from all over, from India, Australia, America, Europe, Canada. They came back to us and they said, we never could have attended if it weren't online. Now, if you're going to do stuff like that as well, be mindful of how you advertise it, because I was getting lots of emails, is that your time or our time that this is happening? So just think about, if you're doing online events, don't just get focused in, I'm in Maynooth and I'm organising this and it's very clear that it's at 2 o'clock, so just think it out. We were able to keep running events, which was a big thing for us. We didn't run as many as we would have done, but we still kept running events. And the amount of people who said to us, we're sitting at home on our own, we haven't seen anybody. It's been fantastic for us to go to an event, particularly the ones that were open to the community to get involved in. Feedback that we got from people who attended was that they liked the fact that if an event were at 1 o'clock, say, that they could work up until 5 to 1. They didn't have to add travel time in to get to something, and they were finished. Then they could go back to what they were doing. And anybody who knows me knows that, timing, if we say we're starting at 1 o'clock, we're starting at 1 o'clock. And we did start on time, and it worked really well. You have to respect people might have other commitments, so you need to try and keep it to that. There was lots of interest in the recordings, so it was really good to record them. And while, it was basic what I did, because I didn't have the skills like these guys here to put this together, people weren't complaining about it. They were happy that they still had access to everything. And then I think to see the number of people who attended. So if we look at a conference and how much it costs in staff time and in finances, will you have more people attending because it's in person? Possibly, but there are other things you have to think about, but we definitely had an increase in people attending. So the slides that librarians like to see are numbers and statistics. So if we look at the art exhibition, we had 1,082 views of the exhibition. And I could see this before we went to doing the COVID thing. And that's why I could see that the poster idea could work here, because people did actually take the time to go in and look at the art exhibition. So we had the talks, and we had 100 people attend, but we had 1,096 views of the talks. So you can see again, this goes back to what I was saying about the number of people attending. If people couldn't attend, they were able to go back and look at everything in their own time, because we got the recordings up pretty quickly. The poster view, I think that's huge. 1,209 people viewed the posters for people. So there is, I think it's showing there that it's doable to consider both. You could have the two running if you had to. Doesn't mean you still wouldn't have this, but people have the opportunity to spend a bit more time looking at it. Heritage Week, again, 115 attended, 616 views of the videos of the recordings of the event. And Love Data Week as well. The numbers were really good for that. So this is just how do we manage going forward, and how do we move forward? We need to manage the expectations really of the people attending and the people who are asking you to run the event. The first event that I was asked to do when everything was lifted, well, we'd be recording that as well, won't we? And I could feel the blood drain. I thought, I don't know how to do that. So, manage everybody's expectations, and be upfront if you don't know how to do it. And we did mention the skills of people. We have great skills, but we don't have all of them. Sometimes what people have come to expect, they might have been happy with not the best of quality of recordings. Are they still happy with that? We have to look at it. Are people okay not having face-to-face meetings with everybody? How do you manage it if you do both? What do you do for people when we're all having our cup of tea and talking? You still need to run something so as there is a way for other people to network. So you do need to think about it. And then the technology and the cost of it. So what technology we used, I had very basic stuff and I didn't have training in some of it, so it was YouTube and finding my way. But we do need to look at putting money into it and moving forward. And I have to say, I'm really pleased. The last event that we did in the library, an exhibition, we had paintings and we had a poetry reading, and we did a sway exhibition of it. So we did try, and we had a launch, and we did have the sway. So we're trying to keep the two going. And I'm pleased at how quickly that we did move. But I do have to say, the next part of my journey, I feel, as an events person, is really a learning curve for me. And I'd really love to hear how other people are managing it to guide me on the next part of the journey. Thanks very much.